Here's one that gets talked about a lot between the diehards and the casuals, and it's a lot of guys that either lean too far to the left or too far to the right. And I look at this thing, I've always looked at this thing, looking objectively at both of these guys' skill sets. I've always looked at this thing as 50-50. And the fight I'm referring to, the fantasy fight, is Tyson versus Ali. Who'd win that fight based on how these guys fight? And like I said, a lot of guys lean either too far to the left or too far to the right. And clearly to me, those guys aren't being objective. They're either using resumes or using examples of these guys when they're at their worst to justify their arguments.
Now, Ali being a bigger man in this fight would be at his best in the ring, using his jab and his footwork to keep Tyson out of range and neutralizing his combination punches. But it's not a clear-cut issue, because Tyson's head movement at his best was superb. And his style, that peekaboo style, is actually made to negate that jab against taller fighters like Muhammad Ali. So, it's conceivable that Tyson could still use that head movement to close the distance, get within range, slip a couple of shots, get out of the way, and you might end up with something that looks a little like this. So it's entirely possible that Tyson could score a couple of knockdowns. Cooper did it, Frazier did it, Tyson could do it. He's a bigger puncher than both of them. But it's not conceivable that Mike would keep him down. So it's likely that Ali would tie him up if Mike manages to continue closing the distance, whispering shit in his ear and fucking with his mind. But that still plays into Tyson's strengths, because on the inside he's most dangerous. So it's possible Ali could start shooting a jab to keep Tyson out of range again, backpedal and buy his time on the ropes, survive the onslaught, and then start putting punches together. Although the expenditure of Tyson's energy is pivotal. On the ropes, Ali would expose himself to Tyson's combination punching again and punch selection. And that's a varying attack, which if Tyson got anything left in the tank, it's still gonna be enough to put him down. However, if this thing goes the distance and Tyson starts to gas out, Ali can capitalize off of his mistakes. He'd be conserving his energy on the ropes, which would buy him time to start putting the punches together later once Tyson starts to gas out, making a KO a definite possibility.
Provided that this thing goes the distance. You gotta remember, he took down Holmes in 4, Burbick in 2, and Spinks in 1. So in order for that to even happen, this thing's gotta go the distance, and there are no guarantees that Ali will survive that onslaught. Considering that Cassius was always more of a headhunter than a body snatcher, that really wouldn't help his plight against Tyson. And whether you're referring to Cassius Clay or Muhammad Ali, both versions are susceptible to the left hook. We've seen it before against Frazier and Sonny Banks. And it's a little well-known fact that Mike's left hook is superb and more compact than either of them. Not that it matters, because he's got power in both hands, so he can hurt you with the right or the left. There are a lot of guys who want to make this thing sound like it's a landslide in either direction, and really it's not. Both of these guys are susceptible to each other, and this is a 50-50 fight. Whether you're talking about Muhammad Ali or Cassius Clay, they're both susceptible to the left hook. And whether you're talking about Kid Dynamite or Mike Tyson, he's not fucking invincible, no matter how much of a boxing prodigy you feel he is. This is a 50-50 fucking fight. So ultimately, that's my opinion. If Mike don't take him early, he don't take him at all. And if this thing goes into the later rounds, the edge has got to go to Ali, because he's already proven time and time again he's got way better stamina than Mike Tyson, and he will get up after the knockdowns.
Yes.
That's a very important factor. The only variable is, can Ali survive the early onslaught, or can Cassius survive the early onslaught? Because whether you like it or not, Mike Tyson was a great enough fighter that he could have kept him down. You know, I don't believe in the supernatural and the nostalgia goggles and all that bullshit. Ali, or Cassius Clay, when he was Cassius Clay, never fought a guy like Mike Tyson. He never fought a guy. And if you really want to think about it, take Mike Tyson out of the equation and make it Joe Frazier versus Cassius Clay instead of Muhammad Ali. You don't think Joe Frazier would have smoked him? Because I kind of do if it was Cassius Clay, all things considered.
You might notice that when I talk about Muhammad Ali, I talk about him in two different respects. One being when he was young, in his prime, when he still had his legs, when he was Cassius Clay, and after the exile, when he came back, lost the Joe Frazier fight, but won the George Foreman fight, Muhammad Ali. I'm of the opinion that Mike Tyson stands a better chance, would have stood a better chance in a time machine against Cassius Clay than Muhammad Ali, because by the time he's Muhammad Ali, well, he's already a grizzled veteran, and he would have known how to fuck with Mike Tyson's mind. He would have developed a strategy to beat that guy. At minimum, he would have known, I got to take this guy into the later rounds, or I don't take this guy. So this guy's going to come out guns blazing the first couple of rounds, and I got to try to survive that. I'm of the opinion that the older, more seasoned Ali that came back after the exile would have been of that opinion and employed that strategy as opposed to the younger Cassius Clay. I'm of the opinion that Mike Tyson would have stood a better chance against a younger Cassius Clay than a more experienced Muhammad Ali, because if you look at the fighters from that era, what fighter in any capacity mirrored the head movement, the upper body movement, the angles, the combination punching, having power in both hands, being fleet of foot like Mike Tyson was? What fighter in Cassius Clay's era of boxing was anything like Mike Tyson? Nobody. There was nobody like that running around. Not quite like Mike. So you put those two guys in a time machine, I'd say Mike stands a better chance against Cassius than Muhammad. Against Muhammad, it's going to be mind games. It's going to be about wearing a guy down and dragging him into deep waters and drowning him once you get there. You know, Mike Tyson was used to finishing a lot of guys early, you know, so imagine that it's Muhammad taking him to deep waters in a 15-rounder. Muhammad's used to that, but Mike not so much, not as much. I'm of the opinion that an older Ali probably would have stood a better chance against Mike than a younger Ali. Other thing you gotta remember is, as far as styles go, it's Mike that actually had the stylistic advantage, because Mike Tyson is a pressure fighter. Muhammad Ali was a pure boxer, long distance guy, straight punches guy, fights behind his jab, moves around the ring. That's a pure boxer. Kryptonite for that kind of fighter is a guy like Mike, a pressure fighter who he's gonna get, he's gonna slip all those jabs, stay off the center, get close to you, and then let his hands go. A lot of guys in Cassius Clay's era of boxing didn't have the kind of combination punching and the feet of Mike Tyson, to where he's gonna get around you, he's gonna get to your side, he's gonna pivot, and he's gonna start hitting you with punches you don't see, whether it's to your midsection or to your head. So I think it depends on what Muhammad Ali people are talking about when they put that fight together. Are you talking about Cassius Clay, or are you talking about Muhammad Ali? Because they're kind of different fighters. Muhammad Ali has much more experience than a young Cassius Clay. You know what I mean? Like, when he fought Sonny Banks, or when he fought Sonny Liston, that's Cassius Clay. Whereas most people remember the Ali that fought Frazier 3 times, Foreman, Norton, that's the Ali they really remember. A lot of these guys, they didn't watch footage of Ali when he was young, and ain't nothing wrong with that. But that's just my opinion. I feel that if you're going to talk about a time machine fight, Mike Tyson versus Muhammad Ali, and who wins, it is a 50-50 fight. Mike has the stylistic advantage, but it also depends on which Ali you're talking about. But you're talking about Cassius Clay, you're talking about Muhammad Ali. It's one man's opinion. Feel free to disagree.